Hey, everybody. Welcome to Mormonism After Dark. We're coming on live a little bit earlier than scheduled in order to say hello to all of you who come early to watch. So, thank you for being here and for being early. Your presence is appreciated.
Isn't it a
It-
cool thing, RFM,
yes.
to be able to do a show? We show up every week on multiple shows on this platform trying to talk about sort of the depths of Mormonism. And the folks who follow us, they come into the live chat 20 minutes ahead of time. They're saying hi to each other. They all know each other. They have this camaraderie. Uh, it's such a cool thing to have an audience that participates to this degree with you. And kudos to all of you out there.
I agree. And in fact, if we get to them, I have a few more that we can get through tonight. I'm sure comments from the audience in the live chat of various kinds of episodes as I go back and review them. I can't go any further, Bill, without remarking on how super stylish you look tonight with the matching jacket. Not just the hat, but now you've got a jacket to match.
Yeah, I've got a jacket and a hat. They're almost the same color. I like them, and I think I look cool. But for a 47-year-old, maybe I'm too cool for school. I don't know.
You are. I just hope I can get an 8 ball from you after the show.
Is your bow tie red or orange?
It is orange. Orangey,
An
as
eight
we would say in Japan. Orangey.
Orange.
Yes, it is. It's orange, and I got an orange one back in the fall, and I wore it a couple times, and I haven't yet. And since then, I thought, well, why not? The black one broke, and I haven't replaced it. The black one is the classic look, of course, with a tuxedo.
Yeah, but this goes nicer with the candle you've got in the back corner, and I think that you look sharp too, my friend. So kudos to you, folks.
Stay close to the candelabra. The stairs are treacherous at night.
It's the 9th of January. By the way, folks, it's already pinned in the live chat and it's down in the YouTube synopsis. You've got the URL address. If you want to come into the show and you want to sit next to the two of us and just hang out with the cool cats and have a great conversation, so that is available to you for anybody who wants to come into the show and talk. RFM, let's jump to it. Let's see what we got here going. You've got this picture. You put up this up before.
I did. I was actually at dinner at a friend's place last night. He's actually the prosecuting attorney who hired me 36 years ago and has lived to regret it. And his wife, anyway, we were invited over there. He went on to become a judge, so now he's a retired judge. Super great guy, and I love them both dearly. And he had this on the wall. Now, the reason he has it on the wall, I think, is because of this famous saying by Frank Sinatra that he feels sorry for people who don't drink because morning is the best they're going to feel all day. But I took this picture. Actually, you can see Wendy in the reflection across the room there and sitting in the little bar area that they have. But I wanted to take a picture of this just to show the audience this is what I'm shooting for the ambiance of this show. That's what is in my mind. And I know they probably didn't do the orange, so I'm a bit out of form there because it would always be formal black. Absolutely. So it's not perfect, but that's the idea.
Maybe someday I'll catch up to you and put a suit on. But man, I wore a suit most of my life in a thing that I didn't. I look back on not as fondly as I used to, and to put a suit on is such a hassle for me. So
it's okay. You can be Joey Bishop.
I like that. I'll just be the guy at the door who makes sure that the wrong guys don't get to come in.
Yeah, she'd be good at that. Bill is much larger and more muscular than he looks.
I don't think so. Well, you've had a picture similar to this before and noted that, and so those guys both look sharp. You look sharp tonight.
Janine says, I worked with Dean Martin in Vegas.
Nice.
It's back when he used to sing, everybody loves my body sometime. Oh, yeah.
All right. I wanted to put this up on the screen. This I thought was interesting because we just did an episode Wednesday night talking about Joseph Smith Sr. And we went into an interview that was had in 1829, 1830, shows up in 1870. And as we were evaluating the Joseph Smith interview and thought there was a lot of credibility to it, and we've covered recently Martin Harris and Oliver Cowdery and David Whitmer, and trying to figure out what in Mormonism is plausible or reasonable or rational, or, you know, those kinds of things that go on in this conversation. Often we hear the critic steps forward and goes, look, guys, there's 3 witnesses. There's 8 witnesses. They never recounted their testimony. Well, for the most part.
They didn't recant them either.
Well, okay, that's probably the right word. Yeah. But they
recounted them frequently. At least David Whitmer sure did. We did a show on him, remember? You couldn't stop him from recounting his testimony.
Let me start from scratch. They never denied their testimony for the most part. Martin Harris kind of gave the game away, but, you know, whatever. This guy here, I mean, first off, look at him. All right.
Wait a second. Who are you talking about?
This guy.
This guy?
This guy on the screen. He has the gold plates.
The guy in the maroon shirt?
With the red bandana?
Okay, that guy.
He's got the gold plates.
Yes.
On the right-hand side are his 3 witnesses. These people say they're holding the sword of Laban. By the way, it's not rusted. It's in perfectly good shape. It could be unsheathed at any moment. The sword. That sword is the sword of Laban, and they're holding the plates.
That looks like that could still open many an envelope.
It says down there, this is their 3 witnesses. Now, I might not be able to make this big enough to be able to read that. Let me see if I can pull it up here on my screen. This will be much easier for me. It says here, witnesses of the golden plates of Mormon from the U.S. who went to Brazil. This is the golden plates of Mormon with 3 subdivisions, 85 plates, which is the first invitation that was translated by Joseph Smith Jr. It has the book of Lehi to Moroni.
That's like when they made the first Star Wars movie, the 4th Star Wars movie.
It's right like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So now the Book of Mormon becomes the first one, and now this is the second one or something. Yeah. Joseph Smith just did the introduction. This is the real thing.
Yeah. This is so he says that this first part of the Book of Mormon, the part that Joseph Smith translated, that's got the book of Lehi to Moroni. It had the law of witnesses, Ether 5:4, 3 witnesses, 8 witnesses. Again, so the second part is the 42 plates, which is the second invitation. And it's
is here. That's what's here, right?
Well, it's all together. So you're probably seeing all 3 parts. And this part, which is the second invitation, has been translated by seer Mariko Artur Berger. Yeah. Mariko Artur Berger.
This guy over here on the far right, in the black shirt.
Yeah.
He must be a real weightlifter to be able to hold those gold plates in so casual a fashion.
Those don't even look like they weigh 20 pounds, do they?
No.
They don't.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe those aren't the gold plates. Those are something else.
Well, he's holding them. These guys claim to be the 3 witnesses of this second invitation.
Well, they would know then.
Joni Batista, Valdesi Machado, and Wagner Zeppenfeld, who accompanied Mariko Artur Berger when he received the plates of Mormon. So instead of Joseph Smith taking Emma and the black horse and the black shirt and doing the whole 9 yards he did, these guys went along with him. So all he had to do was bury the plates, cover them up, take these 3 guys with him. He's got a sword that doesn't look like a high quality sword. The plates are obviously not too weighted.
By the way, this is down in Mesoamerica, right? Somewhere.
I don't really know. I've seen this guy before.
Brazil.
Here's my point.
It says Brazil on the upper left.
Okay, yeah, it does. It says got them from the U.S. and then went to Brazil. So quite a trek to get these plates. I'll just note, though, this second portion contains the words of Moroni, the sealed book of Moses, the 12 apostles of Moses, the acts of the 3 Nephites.
Moses had 12 apostles?
According to this story, he does, according to these plates. which have been translated, RFM.
I think there were 12 princes, one over each of the tribes, but
it has the acts of the three Nephites. We never knew exactly what the three Nephites had done while they never tasted of death. This has their story.
Yes, this story is brought to you by Michelin Tires. Because they're always helping people who have flat tires on the roadway.
Those stories would get boring, wouldn't it? Oh, another tire got changed. Prophecy of Samuel the Lamanite, the seven seals of John the Beloved, the law of witnesses, the golden plates of Mormon, modern witnesses, the three witnesses. And then it's got like testimony of the three witnesses here. And then they have their own 8 witnesses too. Samuel Gold, Tyler Crowell, Kevin Henson, Robert Leroy Cackler. I like that name. Melva Ann Cackler. So I don't know if that's a woman or a man. I have no idea. They've got a reborn at Renee Cheryl Kroll, Manuel Bento, F.D. Elmida, and Zhao I or L. Vendemiati.
They sound like believable people all.
I'll just take myself back off to the side here so that if folks are able to see that, they can down there at the bottom. It says the modern 11 witnesses of the golden plates of Mormon, the same golden plates of Mormon translated by the prophet Joseph Smith, and of those 11 witnesses of Joseph Smith, the same golden plates shown by Moroni to the 11 witnesses of Maurico Arturberger. So I'm just saying it's not that hard to find.
I think you're intentionally pronouncing those names funny, Bill.
It doesn't really matter. So
I feel like you're mocking these people.
Janine
Taylor wants to ask you, is this a real story? She's confused because it sounds so outlandish, and I can understand her incredulity.
No, this is a real story. So this has been going on for a few years now, where folks down in Brazil claim that they've got the golden plates and they're starting their own brand of Mormonism. And all I wanted to say with this is it's not that hard to find 11 people who will be gullible enough to believe your thing. And so when people tout out the 3 or the 8, it just isn't that significant.
A good point. I'm impressed here because they actually have plates that you can take photographs of and apparently inspect and turn over. And if those are gold, man, this, by the way, this individual, the elderly gentleman who has since passed, I believe, this is like 10 years ago or so. That's John Pratt. He used to be a writer of esoteric and yet faith-promoting stuff in Meridian Magazine. And we have an example of that. But that's John Pratt, who really, really went off the deep end. And I think in Mormonism, you're always just a footstep or two away from the deep end. But he took a veer off into the deep end and went down there to become one of the witnesses of these plates. And I don't know if he's a witness, but he was involved in it, and he was so delighted. I mean, it made him happy. It was like his whole life's dream come true to be part of the restoration in a real concrete kind of way, like Joseph Smith and those guys were. So Go ahead. Now, this is what he will always be forever remembered for writing was an article from Meridian Magazine in 2004. And Janine, yes, this is true. This really happened. Titled Uranus Testifies of Christ.
Uranus.
By John P. Pratt, one of the most ridiculous titles in the annals of history.
Whose anus testified of Christ? Was it Uranus? Uranus. Uranus.
I feel like you're mocking the solar system, Bill.
Oh, yeah. Well.
And if you wonder, yes, there it was. Science and Religion. Here's Meridian Magazine. This is from their page where they were proudly proclaiming that they had this article. They secured this article for their magazine. Uranus Testifies of Christ by John P. Pratt and Ronald P. Millett. June 18th, 2004. John P. Pratt would write stuff like this about all the different, the constellations and the different planets, and everything testified of Jesus and Mormonism. It was really quite amazing how God worked it all out.
I just, I'm trying to figure out if there is a person out there who's, Uranus could testify of Christ. That would be pretty cool. If, can you imagine? Oh, I believe in Jesus. Something like that, I just, Uranus.
I'm so sorry. I was looking over here, Pluto forever, and people talking. Who is doing this? I believe in Jesus.
That was a butthole. Like,
Oh, I'm so sorry. Got it. I thought it was Senor Menses. Senor Menses, everybody. Yeah? Senor Menses. All right. Is that ringing a bell at all for you, Bill? And if it's not, you know why? Because you weren't even born yet.
I wasn't. I'm too young for half of the things you say, but 'tis life.
Yeah.
Well, this guy did go down in history for helping us all understand that Uranus testified of Christ. That's amazing. Chad, what do you think of that? Does Uranus testify of Christ?
Man, I got into the StreamYard before I knew we were going to be talking about my anus.
Oh, not my anus, Uranus.
Oh yeah, well, I said my anus.
I'm not a part of this conversation.
No, so I wanted to call in, talk with you guys specifically about the Joseph Smith Sr. interview that you did this last Wednesday, right?
Yes, and that was a Bill production.
So here's something that I find really interesting about Mormon history is you never get to truly appreciate it as a believing member. Because what happens is, right, there are any number of things we could point to that I would say disprove the truthfulness of the church's claims. Some of them are stronger than others. And some of the claims, like if we were to look just at that interview, and that was the only thing that pointed against the veracity of some of the claims or brought in some questions, it would be pretty weak. And so people who stake all of their faith and their belief on claims, they have to defend every last point. Every last data point has to point to the truthfulness of the church. Now, in our position, we can look at that. We can read through that history and say, "Oh, this is some really interesting stuff here." Probably misremembering some of it. It is 30 or 40 years or however. It was quite several decades afterwards. But we're able to look at it and just be interested by it instead of having to hang our faith on that it all was, and that's why, you kind of leaked his name, but Pahoran, the person who was commenting, that's why people like that have to say, like, no, none of this is credible. And Bill, you pointed out a couple times that, that Pahoran wants to just completely throw the whole interview away and say it's not historically reliable. And we can say it has some problems with the historical reliability, but we can learn some great things when you actually think through the context. That's the thing that I was thinking while watching that episode.
I think that's really well put. And I will tell you that I think that I can describe to you my method of thinking if I had read that interview as a Mormon. And I read a lot of things like it as a Mormon. And without even being really aware of what I was doing, I would discount everything that didn't fit the narrative. And I would give a little check mark next to the things that did fit the narrative, like Joseph Smith being illiterate. Okay.
Right.
That part he got right, but everything else he got wrong. And I would do it without even thinking about what I was doing, insensibly.
Would you have been bothered by Dan Vogel's notes where he clearly shows that things that you would have liked not to be true are substantiated by 6, 7, 8 different sources found in various places? Would that have shaken you a little bit?
Chad?
To be honest, I don't know if I would have read those to even get that deep. I had roughly 14 years of my life that was kind of in that PMO stage where the best I was doing was saying, I'm just going to ignore everything and have a relationship with Jesus inside of this church, and there's a lot of, well, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole because I am sure that it is a deep rabbit hole. At least part of me knew that.
You can tell. It's like there's a radioactive hazard sign posted.
Yeah, this is what deconstruction looked for me over 14 years of chemo. Is I got a PhD in chemistry, and I was.
You have a doctorate in chemistry?
I do.
So you're a really smart guy.
No, I'm a really dedicated person to the thing that I liked studying. So I was very involved in, not so much involved, but interested, and I did a lot of reading in skepticism and things like that. But I studied logical fallacies, and I really loved that. I made lists of the logical fallacies I was committing to stay inside of the church and not assess myself. I acknowledged that I was doing it, but I still could not stop doing it.
Wow.
And then, yeah. So
I'll just say this. One of the things you hit on in your comments a few minutes ago, the believing side has to be right about everything. They have to be right about the Book of Abraham. They got to be right about the witnesses. They got to be right about Book of Mormon archaeology. They got to be right about Nahum. They got to be right about, on and on and on. And on this side of things, like, we can just chase the truth, and we can acknowledge that for instance, David Whitmer and Oliver Cowdery actually come out pretty decent as witnesses, while holding Martin up and going, Martin Harris gave the game away. When you're allowed to just weigh things on their merit, people get to watch you citing both directions just based on where the data goes. And then you watch the apologist, and on every issue, they have to tell you that the critic is crazy, they're wrong, they're lying, and we're right in this Rube Goldberg machine kind of way that doesn't make the most rational sense, but it is anyway, over and over and over again. And I think a lifetime of sitting and listening to that, watching that side, needs you to go their direction on everything. Eventually you're like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, something has to go the other way.
Yeah. And I mean, like, RFM, you had an episode last week or the week before where you made some corrections, or you to some of the Book of Mormon translations into other languages, and you were able to look at the data and say, oh no, I was definitely wrong on this, and it's not a personal flaw to say, I thought it was this thing, and turns out it was not this thing. And there are a number of arguments against Mormonism that I think are incredibly weak, and I get sick of hearing. I'm not going to pull up one to my mind right now, but it's a lot more peaceful. Maybe I'll put it that way. It's a lot more peaceful to be able to ignore certain arguments and say, no, I don't think that's a good argument for or against this position. I'm just going to let that data lie on the floor. And that's not to say that you're devaluing different things or hiding or cherry picking. It's just being able to say, this doesn't really sway a conclusion one way or the other, so let's just not really consider it any further. And it's almost like you can't do that if you're trying to prove that it is true, because you have to take every data point and it has to fit the narrative. That's just been the experience that I've had.
Can I ask you a question here, Chad?
Yeah.
I want to take you back to where you were talking about being in such a state that you were actually writing lists of the logical fallacies that you recognize that you were using in order to support the truthfulness of the church and being a member. Is all this correct? That is phenomenal. And that's got to sound really hard to understand to anybody who hasn't been there. And I was wondering, can you describe for anybody out there who hasn't been there what that is like and how it was that you managed to overcome it?
Well, I feel like I'm a fairly intellectually driven person, in that I prioritize logic and I prioritize, data over other. I'm drawing a blank here, but you get my point.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't coinciding well with the belief that I had been born into and raised with. But there's a lot of social, there's a lot of, relationship issues that can come up by questioning, even by questioning. And so for a long time, that was very difficult. I think I've strayed a little bit from what your question was. So I don't know who the audience to the question is.
That supremely sounds like supremely agonizing cognitive dissonance, and what that is like, and how it was you overcame that. Now you mentioned relationships making it difficult. I won't ask whose, but obviously it's from someone who's close to you, related to you, who is a believer still.
Yeah, I find myself fairly surrounded, as it were. So, and I don't. I have a lot of arguments that I could give against the truthfulness of the church and the goodness of the church and all sorts of things. But I think one thing that a lot of members misunderstand is that there are people who just truly hate Mormons because they are Mormon. Those people exist. I think they're a much smaller minority than in my experience, and it certainly is not my case. So for me, it was very difficult because I was very interested in epistemology and skepticism, and I could see very clearly where I was not applying that same methodology in my own life. And I kind of just wrote it off as, well, there's things we just don't understand. And I didn't logic myself out of the church. I think people who know me think that that's what happened, is I just logicked my way out. Mine was a very spiritual leaving of the church. It happened in a matter of about 15 minutes, to be honest, and it just sort of cascaded everything down. That's how my exit of faith and belief happened, was just really quickly. Without going into the full story, I was in southern Utah. It was 2 or 3 in the morning, and I was looking up at just an immensely beautiful dark night sky, and I felt a connection to the universe in a way that I had never experienced before. And I just had this feeling of like, it's okay that a God didn't do this. And that scared me a lot. And then I had this like really strong, peaceful feeling of, what I would have described as the spirit, but it was just like an immensely peaceful, beautiful feeling. And I just remember thinking, thank God, I didn't say it that way. Thank God that that's still there. Like that feeling of awe and beauty and wonder, that peace, it was still there, if not stronger than it had ever been. Right. And so I have a very intellectually, logically focused mind where I like to look at things in the church. I've spent a lot of time, deep inside of not only Mormon history, but just religious history in general. But that came after a kind of spiritual feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was really wonderful. That was in Bill's neck of the woods down there in southern Utah, where the stars at
It
night are
was.
big and bright.
Yeah.
It was.
Chad, thank you so much for joining the show. And thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Chad. Bye-bye. Have a good weekend.
I'll just add something. This reminded me of something that happened this week. So back in Ohio, the ward I was in there from the time I was 17 till I'm going to say somewhere around 35 years old, 34 years old. And, it's the ward I converted to. It's the ward I served as a bishop in. When I stepped away and moved out here to southern Utah, and people back home knew that my faith was disintegrating. And some people showed up really shitty. I had people write me letters from my ward saying, we wish we had never helped the missionaries teach you and that you never got baptized. I've had people from my old ward in Ohio, put comments in newspapers when I'm the substance, at least part of the substance of an article. I've had, go into the comments and say, I knew this guy. He was my bishop. He got lazy and lost his faith, whatever, so things like that. Horrific things. There were also people who were kind and said, Bill, I still believe it, but I'm not naive enough to think that there aren't problems. There's problems, and I see some of those, and I'm not going to give you any grief at all. I think you made the decision best for you, and it was an act of integrity, right? And so there was some of that, but there wasn't many. And there were a lot of people that just got quiet and just stepped back and didn't want to be in my space. I got a message from one of the people in my old ward in Ohio about a week ago. I won't say names. I won't say gender. I won't do any of that because I would assume this person isn't ready for that. But this person said, hey, I've got to talk to you. I've got to talk to you. And I know this person really well. And I said, well, tonight's probably not going to work. So next morning, that person calls me. I spent an hour and a half on the phone with them. They are in the thick of it. Like they're like, you were right. I am so sorry. You were right. Over the last year, I have finally asked myself, what if Bill's right? What if this isn't what it claims to be? And they've gone down the rabbit hole, and they're looking at the things, and they're watching the stuff, and they're asking the questions, and they're watching podcasts that are going over polygamy. They're reading articles. And this person cried for probably a third of the time we're talking. They don't know what to do. This is their community. It's their identity. It was so important. It was so important that Mormonism be true. And their brain can't help but recognize there's too many problems for it to be true. And I've had that happen. I mean, I've had it happen. I'm going to say 9 times where people from my old ward in Ohio have lost their faith, stepped away, and have reached out to me and said, like, essentially, sorry for giving you some grief at the time, or anyway.
I'm sorry for the things I said when I was a Mormon.
Yeah. But there are people, you and I talk, we have this audience, and for the most part, these people have been going down this journey for a long time. And then we run into people regularly, but not many, who are like, man, I'm in the first month after this happened. I'm just in the front end of this happening. And it was just an eye-opening thing to me that people that I know are waking up today.
I hope you invited this person to join in our live chat group.
I gave this person a lot of things to look at, but mostly what I wanted them to do is to go read things that I gave them that had nothing to do with Mormonism. They just had to do with how our brain grows from early stages of development to later stages, and how we move from binary dualistic thinking to holding complexity and nuance, and that deconstruction of one's faith, a crisis of faith, the dark night of the soul, or a reassembling of one's identity isn't a Mormon adventure. It's a life adventure. And
it's very important to me when I heard you talking about that at some length on your Mormon Discussions podcast before I was Radio Free Mormon.
Yeah, when this person comes back, having had a chance to maybe figure a little more out. We'll see if they end up watching the show. I don't know if they will or if they won't, but I love this person. I care about them. And it was hard to see that they're in that moment, but they're the kind of person that'll do just fine. And a couple years from now, we'll look back and be extremely grateful that they chose to go down the track of chasing the truth.
It's one of those things that there's rarely an easy way. I would say there's never an easy way out. You have to go through it. There's Matt.
What do you think, Matt?
Awesome. Can you guys hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we can.
Okay,
actually.
sweet. That was crazy. I never thought about joining, and I saw the link, and I'm like, why not? I don't even know what we're talking about. It was 2 seconds in, and I just clicked it. So
you just joined the live chat for the first time?
no, I've watched you guys plenty of
Joining the show
times,
for the first
but
time.
but yeah,
I'm sorry.
joining the show for the first time, and I was like, wow, there's no one else in here as far as like waiting. I thought there'd be a line, but it's cool.
I know the spirit is not moving very much in this fast and testimony meeting.
Well, this is the first fast testimony I will be speaking in probably a year, so
Really?
it's good.
So
Yeah.
a year ago, you were bearing your testimony?
Yeah, I'm 37. Started the journey of questions and concerns at 36. Been a member of my whole life from California, actually. Served a mission, did the whole shindig, had family. I'm in southern Utah now, believe it or not. Got out of the military, ended up in Utah college, stayed here ever since. I love it. It's a great place. I like southern Utah more than northern Utah. But yeah, my journey's been an interesting one. Still in a mixed faith marriage at this point, family, all that type of stuff. And so navigating is pretty interesting. But it went from a year ago talking to some companions of my mission who've left, wondering things. And it started with just getting bored. I just got bored at church, just so much boredom, and things changed so much from when
you get bored at church. They're
I know,
always
man.
talking about new and interesting things every time you go.
Yes, yeah, it's very interesting. And yeah, but no, so I just left and was kind of silently PMO. Wife didn't know for a while, and just kind of did my thing, talking to my brother-in-law, who's my best friend in the entire world. Didn't know he was on this journey longer than I was until I started having questions and doubts and things. And then he opened up that he's been going through for a few years. But yeah, so about probably during summertime, I kind of broke it to my wife, like, yo, I'm done. Like, also, I still go and support her because we're still at that stage where I kind of need to keep the family together and whatnot. But yeah, so I go. We have a calling, believe it or not. I wasn't going to accept it, but she said she'd take the brunt of it, and it's babysitting 4 and 5 year olds, which is fine. If they were any older, I might have to sprinkle in some truth into the lessons. But
You're talking about your primary teachers.
yeah, something. Yeah, nursery. I probably it's just the first year of primary because it's 4 and 5 year olds, and so glorified babysitting at its best, which is fine because I have kids as well. So in the end,
it pays well. It pays the bills.
I wish it pays well. If anyone deserved to get paid, it'd be someone else besides the higher ups in the church. Tell you that much. It's tough, but yeah, it's been a weird journey.
She take the brunt of it, did she?
We haven't taught yet because I've realized with my wife that it's more of I need to let things happen naturally. And if I were to, tell her, hey, we're not going, you're not going, you're still believing, like, why aren't you doing this? It would do no good. So for me, I've realized I'm never going to critique it. If she doesn't want to go because she needs to study for a test she's taking, or she feels a little sick, yeah, cool. Like, no worries. I just let it kind of chill. So hopefully she can realize subconsciously that it's not that big of a deal that we're not going, and our life doesn't change dramatically. And we're kind of happy chilling on Sundays. And last time we went was probably Christmas, the Christmas, 1 hour church or whatever. But besides that, something's always come up or something's happened, and I'm just like, cool, this is great, But I think she's coming around to acceptance that I'm done. I'll still love and support her and do that stuff. And eventually, but I have kids that are coming up in a few years to baptism age, and I'm just like, it's going to be tough trying to talk her through that or whatnot, just because, there's a lot to everything.
Her family is Mormon.
Yeah. Well, no, actually, sorry. Her parents, my in-laws, very, very Mormon.
Yeah.
Her aunt's cousin, that side, but her 2 sisters are out, which is, it's cool. She's the oldest. Her second oldest, youngest sister, she got out first, like, so shortly after marriage in the temple. And, we judged so hard, and I didn't see that till after I was kind of out mentally. Like, judgment's so real. And you're like, dude, I can't believe I judged so much. And judgment in life is okay in certain cases, but like, man, dude, getting out of the box, you just realize how free and how amazing life can be, and how, good the world can be when you're out of that Mormon spectrum. And it's insane.
Judging others as inferior is the one redeeming aspect of Mormonism.
Yep. Yeah, and you don't even know. I didn't even know I was doing it until you realize, like, holy crap, I judged so hard in the
Mhm.
wrongest aspects and the wrongest ways. And so, yeah, but and my family, my dad is the only one still in. My mom, brothers, sisters, everyone's left. I actually have a sister who I never thought would come back, gonna get her temple endowments out in like a week or two. And I was like, oh, okay, good on you, I guess. Do you be
Yeah,
happy? But
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. That's my philosophy too.
Yeah, but discovering you guys has been great, like all the different channels. Because I feel like I went from, questioning to like the pneumo side of things where it's like you still believe in the Book of Mormon or Joseph Smith, no polygamy. And then you read more and get deeper and you're like, okay, no, that's all bullcrap too. Let me keep moving on. And then I'm at a place where I have hope in Christianity. I don't know. I think they're good principles. Hopefully Jesus was a real person and he did what he said he was supposed to do. But I also just can't care because what I've realized is I have true acceptance of my life now. Like I've just accepted the way things are and also living day to day in the present because the LDS church is so focused on something that doesn't exist or that's just not real. And then we're living in reality and people forget that until they're just 80 years old and they die. And so for me, it's like I
Yeah.
want to live day to day in reality with my wife and kids and enjoy the time. And if there's something, if I die tomorrow and there's something, great. And if there's not, I won't know the difference. And so for me, it's just trying to live day by day and being happy and
Yes.
just yeah. So yeah, it's tough. But when you don't have the familiar support on my wife's side, it's tough. So we'll see what happens. But I've also just accepted what might happen, and I'll just still be happy.
I'll just say you playing the long game with her is the absolute right decision. And if your goal is to make it so that she never feels like she has to choose between it and you, heard too many horror stories go that way. So playing the long game is the right move.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's a tough one because I wish it wasn't the long game, but that's what it's going to be. So I just have to accept that too, and just keep kind of living the life I have. So
Well,
yeah,
thank you, Matt G.
no, I really
It's a
appreciate
good
you
life.
guys.
Take it easy.
Yes, sir.
Good life.
All right, see you guys.
Matt, have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
He was like a really cool Cardinellis. He was a little bit like dude and stuff too, but it wasn't
But that's it. He's from California. That was why.
yeah, it was cool though. So I really appreciate it. Matt G, that was a really great call. Thanks for doing that. Before we bring Miriam on with a name like that,
Miriam.
wait, but I do want to put this up, just share a couple little things here and then we'll jump to
Yes. Tell me about this.
So these are the two videos that we've mentioned a few times, maybe on the newscast or other places, but there's this YouTube channel ran by Answering LDS Critics where he doesn't get very many views. This one here had 145 views. The Mormon Stories one has 2.8 thousand. But he goes into
the Mormon Stories one. Yes, 2.8 thousand.
He goes into detail about the financials of Mormon Stories and our channel, the Mormon Discussion channel. And he essentially goes, look, these guys are starting to stagnate. So all of you believers can, take solace. These guys are on their way out. They're no longer, it's obvious that they're not doing the Lord's work because they're heading the wrong direction. But here was the thing about this. I used to live in a world where the apologists would pick on you, me, John DeLynn. They would pick on us because we were doing a thing, getting paid to do a thing where we exposed the church and its problems. And they would accuse us of priestcraft. They would rant and rave about how we were making money on this thing that we were doing. And so nobody should trust us for that. And it's weird because the last couple of years, outside of like an individual believer who would accuse me of that, I've not heard apologists say that at all. And I thought, why aren't they saying that? And then this week, maybe the week before, we came across something we thought it would be interesting for people to at least see. This here is the More Good Foundation. They are the middleman. They allow members who want to help the apologetic side of the church and the church itself. So the church and its members can donate to the More Good Foundation. And then the More Good Foundation has a history of then passing that money on to other sources so that the church and those members aren't seen as directly contributing to Fair Mormon, Fair LDS now, but Fair Mormon. And
they do that so that the people they contribute to can do more good. See, it's in the name.
This By the way, I think it's Vicky Pankey Taylor, who was one of the original founders of the More Good Foundation. I interviewed her early on with
Sounds Reformed Egyptian.
and I didn't know her background. Otherwise, I would have asked her about this kind of stuff. But the More Good Foundation is sort of the money launderer for the church to the apologetic organizations. Now, what I thought was interesting here is these guys have got right now they've got $3.7 million in assets. And this was from 2024. So at the end of 2024, $3.7 million. At the end of 23, they had $4.3 million. They brought in 4.2 in 23, 3.4 almost in 24. And I thought, wow, this entity has millions of dollars.
Okay, this is the More Good Foundation.
This is the More Good Foundation.
Okay, and this is their 990 form, their tax return.
Yeah, and I'll just say, I have other tax returns. This is like, yes, basically it's the tax return of a nonprofit. So it's a 990. By the way, you can go to Mormon Discussion Podcasts.org or MormonDiscussions.org. And at the very top menu at the top, you can click financials. And folks, you can see all of our 990 returns. We've always been transparent about that. These guys have got $3.7 million sitting in a bank. And I thought, well, all right. The other ones that I've seen, by the way, Fair Mormon, they've got less than $1 million. They've got what I would consider moderately responsible. They've got, enough money there that they can handle a handful of future years if problems came up. But they've always been ones to say like, hey, we don't pay anybody. The only person paid on our staff is the part-time person who runs the bookstore. So kudos to them for that. But these guys have a lot. But then I saw one and I hope
it was ours.
Well, no, I wish it was. I wish we had $7 million or whatever, but these guys have got almost $7 million.
Who?
This is Scripture Central.
Scripture Central?
Pearl of Great Price Central. Scripture Central.
Farms in reborn form.
Look at this. This is Book of Mormon Central is the name of the organization. They're doing business as Scripture Central out of American Fork, Utah. They brought in $5.1 million in 23, $8.4 million in 24. At the end of 23, they had $4.7 million as assets, as their net assets, fund balances. And in the current year, at the end of 24, they had almost 6.3 million.
But that's back in 2024 when $1 million was a lot of money.
Yeah, right. And these guys don't accuse us of priestcraft anymore. And now I know
maybe
why.
There's a reason.
There's a reason. They've got their own millions and millions and millions of dollars. Yeah.
They found out how good the priestcraft can be.
I think I don't know what happened, but these entities were all barely getting by. And then in the course of just a few years, these entities took in so much money. And I'll just say, by the way, we operate with a much lower budget than these guys do. Not to put pressure on our folks. We're grateful for all the support we get, but man, I just want to say, look what we have to compete against this in a sense, right? Like they're the ones who get to put the lies out and they get to do it at this price. And then here we are doing the research, trying to tell the truth. And we're having to work with a lesser budget. These guys have got millions.
I love our tech. I love our look. I love everything about Mormonism After Dark and everything about Bill Reel and his hat.
Nice.
But I'm just saying, okay, that even a person who looks as infrequently as I do at other podcasts from the apologists has noticed substantial increases over time in their quality of production. And I think that's coming from somewhere.
It's coming from the bankroll of Book of Mormon Central, where they could buy a small island and probably have a little left over. It's a lot. Anyway, I was caught off guard when I saw these. I didn't expect this from the people who rant and rave about the bad guys are practicing priestcraft. The Lord's servants take no script. And by the way, when you look at the payroll of the people that they're paying out to, like members of their board, their higher employees, they had folks who were making 180, 280, 360. I mean, there were lots of folks on the payroll that were making, decent money. But to have this much money set aside it's insane. It's unfathomable to me.
Wow. Yeah. The church has a lot of money set aside too, but it's in a good position to do that. Did you want to say anything more about any more of these 990s, or did you want to bring on Ms. Moore?
And sorry, there's Book of Mormon Central. So there's the Scripture Central one. I didn't click that slide over. Yeah, let's set this down for the moment. We'll get to that here in just a second. Burke Sorensen is up to it again.
Yes, we'll be dunking on dives.
Yeah.
It's like bowling for dollars.
Miriam, you've got a Bible name. Is that your temple name, or is that your given birth name? You're muted, Miriam.
There we go.
There we go.
Thank you, guys.
Hi.
Yeah, that's my birth name. I was named after a Catholic nun, apparently, from a nursing school.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
And she adopted that name when she became a nun, probably.
Probably so. It's a very spiritual name. Lots of people in the Middle East recognize me right away.
Yes.
Oh, you're a medium.
Are you talking to us by candlelight?
I am. Isn't that great?
By sun and candlelight.
You don't get to see any of my flaws. It's so lovely.
I'm up here in the Klieg light, so you can see all of my flaws, sunspots included.
I appreciate that. You offer yourself as a sacrifice, kind sir.
Yes.
Especially
I will not
when
leave
you
thee
laugh.
comfortless. I will come to you.
That's very clever, and I wish I were as clever. Yeah, you guys
It's a great
are
burden,
entertaining.
actually.
So I'm getting work on my house done these days. I'm getting all the popcorn on my ceiling scraped off. What do you think of that?
At least it's not an apricot tree.
Yeah.
Oh, it's all over. They're being very tidy about it, but it's a big deal when you get all that stuff on the floor instead of the ceiling.
No asbestos concerns then?
No, not at all.
Okay.
1968, the house was built. So, RFM, you don't live in your office. You obviously have a house.
I practically live in my office.
Yeah. Do you have popcorn on your ceilings?
I rent, and now I'm actually thinking. I live so much in my head that I'm trying to piece together a picture of where I live. I think the answer is no, but I wouldn't be surprised to find I'm wrong. I will say no. There's no popcorn on those ceilings.
Yeah, you probably live in a nicer house than me.
It's hard to tell, actually.
One would assume.
Is the electricity off? Is that what's going on?
Well, I'm getting no, I'm just using the candlelight to relax in the evening and sip a little wine and tune into your show. And I thought, well, how surprising. I actually had the courage to show up and enter the StreamYard. So thanks for noticing me.
Oh, that's so nice. Yes, that's a great Eeyore line. Thanks for noticing me. Of course we noticed you, Miriam. How could we not?
Yes, with the tail that comes off in the bushes. And my neighbors find it and bring it to me. I have a funny story from yesterday. I am a painter. I'm an artist, and I paint watercolors from my front yard. I have arthritis, so I'm a little bit disabled, but I have a lovely wheelchair and a scooter. It's a four-wheel scooter that my daughter gave me, so I go off on adventures in my neighborhood where I'm in power. So I put my easel out by the neighbor's corner, and while I was getting all my supplies, a truck stopped, and it took my easel on board the truck, and it drove off.
A person got out and took your easel?
Yes, that happened yesterday morning, and I was so outraged.
What a weasel!
I
You could
know. So
say
I drove
he's an
as
easel
fast as
weasel.
I could, yes, in my scooter, and they stopped and parked 3/4 down the block. And I was looking at them like, "What? You're just standing in the front yard with my easel in the back of your truck, and you're not even apologizing?" So I went around and I lifted it out with all my strength, and the guy said, "Excuse me, excuse me." He was very outraged that I was stealing my easel back, but we both had a very good laugh about it. He's a neighbor that knows me and recognizes me, and he said, "Well, that neighbor had left stuff out before, but it was such a funny event for me to be so invested in my art making and then have some stranger, it could have been random. He happened to be my neighbor." And isn't that lovely? Isn't that lovely when life turns out that way? How your neighbors turn out to be good folks that
That
you
they were
can catch
kidding.
up with.
He was kidding.
He was collecting it because he said that neighbor left stuff out for him before. Yeah, so we had a good laugh. It was so marvelous to be able to laugh.
Isn't it nice when things don't turn out horrific?
Yeah, when your neighbors are good people and they have a good sense of humor.
I can tell you're like me. We have a low bar for being pleasantly surprised when things don't go as crappy as they possibly could conceivably do.
It's
Then we're
something
happy.
that we get used to, right? It toughens us up. It makes us ready for the wrangle. And it's such a pleasure when somebody allows us to get wrangly with them, right? Like have a quick wrestle and then sit down and have a pleasant dinner.
Mm, yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think so. So, are you gonna be able to turn the lights on? I feel like if we leave you, you're gonna be all alone in the darkness.
I'll become a ghost in the night. I have two dogs in the house with me. I've got a husky and kind of another dog that the husky brought home. Okay, here comes the light. Oh,
You don't happen to
Oh,
have two
there it is.
younger-
Okay.
that's me. This is
you
the face.
don't happen to have two younger brothers named Moses and Aaron, right?
Moses and Aaron Moore. One of them wore the ephod, and the other wore the what
The
is it? The
codpiece.
no, the one on your chest, the Urim and Thummim.
Oh, yeah. I thought Moses wore the codpiece.
The gift of Aaron was
Yeah, you can hold it in your hand
not the
on a
cod
limited
piece.
basis.
Okay, I'm laying down. If I could show you my dogs, I would, but I've been painting pictures of them lately. So here we go.
Understood.
Don't show the chin. That's most unattractive. Right, I've been looking at my double chin thing.
Well,
Oh,
don't
that's
drop us
so
right now.
unattractive.
Yeah, don't drop the phone.
I don't have a parachute on.
I have, yes, I have dropped the phone.
Well, thank you very much, Miriam.
You guys are very entertaining, and thanks for letting me come on and chat with you.
Thanks
You
for
are
coming.
so welcome. Thank you for taking some time out of your evening to join us.
Okay, okay, more power to you.
Okay, have a great
Thank you.
All right,
Talk to you
bye.
later.
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, before we bring
Fist.
Scab on, yeah, Fist, huh?
Scabbers.
What do you want to say here?
Oh, yes, dives. Dives. Oh, there's so much to be said about dives, but it's sort of all the same.
Over and over and
He's
over.
stealing somebody else's shit now.
Yeah.
He's stolen my shit. He's stolen Bill's shit. Stolen Alyssa Green. He's stolen everybody's shit. And now he's stolen this guy's shit, and this guy's pissed about it.
He's stolen my identity.
That's right. He has. Which is a crime in many states.
Oh, yeah, I saw this today. He reached out to me. This guy, the gentleman who had his content stolen, reached out to me by email and said, "What can I do?" And I said, "You're going to have to get a lawyer. You're going to have to." Dives just keeps persisting. The only way he'll back down is if he gets his YouTube channel taken from him. That's the one thing he doesn't want, is to get 3 copyright strikes from YouTube. And but he's playing the game where he's doing what it takes to get copyright strikes. He is.
And yes, and to make it clear to everybody, sometimes we'll take clips or a talk or something, and we'll dissect it up. We'll play clips. We'll comment on it. Blah blah blah. You've seen that before. This is not that. This is taking exactly what it is that the other person produced and putting it up in its entirety with no commentary. You're just stealing their stuff and putting it up on your own channel?
I can't think of a moment, and there might be. I might have taken a short off of TikTok or something, but I've definitely not taken anybody's sort of long podcast and with the intent of capitalizing on someone else's work, post it in full. And it is obvious when you look at Dive's channel. By the way, this guy is not the only person. A good friend of mine, Britt Hartley, he has taken her content, even the thumbnails that don't look like they're her. For instance, the top right one, Unmasking Jay Shetty, is just an entire video of Britt Hartley's. So he has taken Britt Hartley's content and just posted it in its entirety as if it's his content. And man, at some point, Dives is going to have to pay the price for just being a POS, a piece of shit. I guess it's Mormonism After Dark. I think I can say.
I was surprised he didn't get in trouble when a year and a half or so ago he was live streaming the Olympics coverage when he was trying to launch a call-in show and nobody was calling in. So he was saying, "Okay, we'll just watch the Olympics until somebody calls in."
There's something wrong with that guy, right? Like
he likes sports.
Yeah, it's maybe, but I don't think that explains it. Something's wrong with this guy. So you've got Dives that's just posting other people's content in its entirety, and he's doing it all over the place. Anyway, crazy.
So this other guy that you talked to, right? He went and reported him, so now he's got 2 strikes, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I know that the videos are no longer on Dive's YouTube channel. So, and the guy did message me back, and he did say that he was able to get that taken care of.
Yeah, here's what he posted at Reddit, right? Master Mayhan Jr. is what he goes by there. Something else on YouTube. Says, I've never heard of his channel. But someone alerted me to the fact that he re-uploaded one of my most viewed videos. I looked through his content and found a second video. This guy steals content and uses it to drive traffic to his Patreon.
Except it doesn't drive traffic to him because his stuff isn't watched. His views are so low for his content that he's trying to cheat the system and it still isn't working.
All right. Well, Master Mayhan Jr. goes on. For the record, my own channel is not monetized, and I'm not worried about him competing with my income. I'm mostly annoyed at the dishonesty and laziness.
Yeah.
He is fighting the DMCA takedown and claims that my unmodified video is fair use and transformative. The guy is a lying grifter, concludes Master Mayhan Jr.
He's a lying grifter, and he's also, I think, either mentally ill or has some deeply unhealthy psychopathy. And I don't know which, but I think it's one or the other.
Or he could just be a thoroughly unpleasant human being.
Yeah, I guess that's possible. What do you think?
Hey, Scabbers, how you doing?
Guys, Happy New Year.
Can you mute whatever that sound is in the background?
I think he's playing the guitar.
You look a little bit like Joaquin Phoenix, by the way.
Is that a compliment?
Well, don't let me remind you, Bill. You were about to whack off to I was on once before. And
Was Bill whacking off then?
I had mentioned some issues with my sexual what would you call it?
Whacking off?
Way, the Mormon church kind of screwed that for me, right? So
Okay.
yeah, Jack Black. You were gonna Jack Black the whole thing. Anyway, forgive me for
You
that.
remember him, Bill?
You know what I wanted to talk about tonight was your last guest there with the candlelight.
Yes,
She
Miriam.
reminded me of my mother, dude, and very, very clandestine sort of. Who knows what's going on there?
Well, in my
and
hour
what's
of darkness,
going on
she is
here?
standing there in front of me.
RFM,
Yeah.
this is what I want for you, man. Hold on a second. I said this last time. I want to always have a smoke with you.
Mm.
And I hope our Mormon viewers don't mind.
Not as long as a Marlboro.
It's
Don't-
not.
Don't light that.
Oh yeah. Oh
Don't,
yeah.
People
don't,
don't like that.
Bill,
Do it.
don't get alarmed.
Do it.
Don't get alarmed.
don't
do
do
it.
it.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Hey, I don't
Nobody's
know.
hearing you.
I
Scabbard.
don't know what the rules are on YouTube of having like smoking on screen. So
Scab. Hey, Scab, that was funny and it was nice. And I
Yeah.
think you were being great.
yeah.
Bill's just concerned because YouTube people are like, they have hair triggers. They'll go off on people. It's crazy.
don't wanna
Remember,
call
they went and suspended one of my videos, although it was TikTok, because I was talking about William Shakespeare. And this is just a prop. This is just a prop. So if you want to use yours as a prop, that's fine. Just don't light it up, okay?
So if
Is
you'll
that cool, my friend, and we'll bring you back on. Is
Yeah,
that okay, Scab?
Yep, if you'll put it off to the side or something, we'll bring you back on. Love to hear from you, but okay, all right.
Scab.
How are you? That
Scab,
was
can you hear me talking to you?
Hey, no problem. No smokes.
okay, nice. What's on your mind tonight, my friend?
You know, they're just props for me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, but YouTube doesn't know how to discern props from reality, right? So
Right.
Like RoboCop.
you know what, honestly, on a lighter note, I don't know if you remember. Oh, sorry. I wear the goggles, okay?
I was wondering if you meant to do that.
Well, the last time we spoke, it was like, hey, you got some double goggles going on. So I was like, no, I can't see close when I don't have my my specs on my specs, right? So, but what I wanted to just sort of throw at you both is something pretty light and easy. Is like outside of Mormonism, like on the leaving it. Where did music land for you guys? Like as far as like getting out of the choir and that kind of shit. Like, sorry, I didn't mean to swear there.
You can swear. You can swear all you want.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just
I learned all
Just
this
don't
from
light
my father, high priest Mormon. Okay, how to swear. I'm very foul mouthed normally, but
I think that's an
we don't know
Scab.
each other all that well, so.
I think that's an interesting question. I'm not sure I've ever heard anybody ask me that question. What do you think about that question, Bill?
where do I fall on music?
After you left the church,
did
and
it
you got
change for you? Did it
totally.
allow you to explore in a way that maybe you probably found stuff you didn't like for sure?
Well, yeah, I'll tell you. So before I joined the church, I was into rap music. I love rap music. Tupac.
Drop me some names. I am too, man.
Yeah. Bone Thugs and Harmony, Loonies, E40, Tupac Shakur, of course, Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, Eminem, all of that stuff, right?
No NWA, right?
NWA was just a little before that. but Easy E was a part of NWA, and Easy they all pick up. Dr. Dre goes his own way. Easy E ends up becoming a music promoter, and he grabs onto a band from East Cleveland, Ohio, called Bone Thugs and Harmony, who at the time, rap is rap, but what Bone Thugs did different was all four of them, Busy Bone, Crazy Bone, Lazy Bone, and Wishbone, they would, you're cheating the system, dude.
Hey.
So they would harmonize. That's all right. They would harmonize. They would sing and rap sort of at the same time. So if folks will go and listen to First of the Month, it's a great song that they did. It was top of the charts for a few weeks. So then I joined Mormonism, and I sort of fall back on the country music that I grew up with my parents listening to: Kenny Chesney, Garth Brooks, Brooks and Dunn, Brad Paisley, those kinds of guys. And then when I stepped out of Mormonism, a friend of mine turned me on to reggae. I'd never listened to reggae at all. I tried listening to like Bob Marley and some of the older reggae stuff, and I just like, that wasn't even interesting to me.
Sorry, bro. Sorry.
All right. So I ended up checking out reggae and more modern reggae. So Stick Figure, Ayaterra, Natalie Rock.
The longer the story is, the more tokes he's going to take, Bill.
I know. I'm going to finish up here. But Revolution. Just say, folks, if you want to try reggae music out, go listen to Stick Figure, Weight of Sound.
Okay.
go listen to Revolution, any song they make. But my favorite group in all of reggae is Dirty Heads. And I love their music, and it doesn't matter what song of theirs is playing. I just love it. They're
Well, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you, brother?
I'm 47.
Okay. Okay. That's why what you're asking me to listen to is probably worth checking out. You got some history, right? So
Yeah, try Stick Figure Weight of Sound. Everybody out there, please try it. Listen to that one song and see if you're like, man, I think maybe I could like reggae.
awesome. What about you, RFM?
Sinatra.
You were listening to that as a Mormon. Come on, man.
I was. I fell in love with Sinatra when I was 40, and I haven't gotten over it yet.
There's nothing wrong with not getting over that. You know what I'm saying?
A man and his music.
I was listening to music tonight, and that is what came to my brain. It was like, I wonder how you guys dealt with it. I know for me, now I created a band for like 10 years that did all right. But for the most part, I was writing my own music and that kind of stuff. And I had to like dip into stuff that obviously my dad was into, sort of, what would you call it? Big band, like sort of that, like heavy on the brass. It's like big band stuff. My dad was good like that, but didn't hit home for us. You know what I mean? Now I come from a family of 14, the typical Mormon family, right out of Utah. Okay, although my parents they left Utah, but they brought Utah where they went. You know what I mean? So music was a big thing for us in our family, anyway. 14, not every single one of us, but 10 boys, 4 girls. I would say 10 of us are heavy on the music, right? Whether we're playing it, writing it, or listening to it, it's guaranteed, that we check out each other's like music collection, this kind of stuff. It's a big deal in our world, right? So not that my parents are alive anymore, but that's what they left us. And I don't put that on Mormonism, but maybe I do a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, my folks were, as I've said before, old enough to be my grandparents. My dad was born in 1919. So they grew up in the late 30s, early 40s with the big bands. And by the time I come along, which is when my dad's 40, and then I'm around 10 years old, and now the record companies are getting these collections together, like 4 album collections with all the big hits from the big band years, so that all the people who were teenagers then and are in their 40s now, that's the target audience. And they got the money to buy it, and they did. And so I had a rather large exposure to big band music when I was 10 and 11 and 12.
Were you at all involved in, let's say, just public school bands, or just a part of I know for me, I was fortunate enough to, from grade 7 through to grade 12, participate in that kind of adventure, right? Like learn how to read music, play whatever instrument whatever the instructor would allow you to jump on, right? So
yes. I do not know how to read music, and I've long recognized it as a defect in my upbringing.
Nothing wrong with that. As long as you got a good ear, that's the best instrument I've ever heard.
All right, Scab. Well, thank you so much. Thanks for the call, my friend.
Thank you, guys, and Happy New Year. And again, thank you for Friday nights, man.
Yeah.
Thank you, Scab. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
All right.
Go
ahead. Sorry.
I think that's the nicest Scab I've ever met.
Yeah. Scabs were a thing when I was a kid. You're riding a bike and you fall off and you get all these big scabs on your skin and you could sort of pick them off. Kind of gross.
I can actually remember being a kid and injuring myself for the millionth time and actually having the thought occur to me, am I ever going to grow up to the point where I'm not constantly injuring myself?
Right. And you do, for the most part, at this age, I still once in a great while get a little burn from cooking or something. But generally speaking.
Yeah, I avoid those mostly.
Yeah.
And there's a way to do that, Bill, by the way.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you after the show when you're giving me the A-ball, okay?
I know what you're going to say, but I actually enjoy cooking. So,
well, great. You could be a great chef.
There you go.
So Malox says, Brady Heron and CGP Grey used an old word to describe plundering internet content like videos. Oh, freeboot. Dives pronounced Dives, I think. No, he will always be Dives in my heart. Dives is a freebooter. Okay, a freebooter. I like that. That's a good phrase.
Yeah. Good old Dives. Let me put something else up, and then Dustin, you're next, my friend. Thanks for coming on to the show. I'll be right with you. I think we'll go into more detail on this on the newscast, but I thought this was at least interesting to mention, which is that the Widows Mite report did a update, a new document on what does the LDS Church pay its most senior clergy, and they've got other employees of the church, and they note those things as well. But we've got enough data points now from 2000, 2002, the 2011, 2013, and 2014 that they now know that it is a very clean trajectory of a 3% raise every year.
Cola.
Yeah. And so we know that now, 3.1% per annum. Basically what the median inflation rate is across time. And so they give a 3.1% raise to the general authorities each year. And again, we have enough data now to know that that's what happens. And so I thought that was kind of interesting. You have any thoughts on that?
So they're around 180,000 or so estimated.
Yeah, about $180,000 in their stipend, not to mention their free car, their health insurance, their parsonage money that they get. If they got kids at home, they get money for that too, which those guys wouldn't. But
it wouldn't be quite as much if they had to pay their bills the way that we have to.
Right. Imagine having an entity pay all of your bills and you got $180,000 a year deposited into your bank account.
Yahoo.
Yeah. That would be a lot of fun. Dustin, what do you think? You could probably use 180,000, right?
Especially with no other bills. Absolutely. Yeah. There's no worry about that, is there? I was just thinking as you were saying that is I think it's more not an inflation of 3% for the money, because for the inflation rate, but it's the growing volume of known lies from the Mormon Church that is being exposed, and so they're being compensated for the increase of the known lies that they've been covering up.
I like that.
It's a little bit more sense.
More problems known, more pay in the pocket.
Absolutely.
I can tell you that just by appearing on the show, Dustin, it decreases your chances substantially of ever being able to get some of that sweet tithing money.
Yeah, I left the church 5-6 years ago, but I am still on record, so this probably might affect that for sure. So I don't.
Well, it depends on what you say. Just don't say that Elder Holland is a liar.
You don't do that.
Well, yeah, you probably have to
don't say liar, pants on fire.
Yeah. You'll probably have to disconnect me now. Then I guess there's nothing for me to say.
Are you on like a train car? Are you traveling across the country right now?
No, it does sound like it, but that was a jetliner that just flew over. So I'm close to an airport. So you'll probably hear that every few minutes on a flight path. I'm actually in Sin City, Las Vegas. So
really, that's where you live?
Yeah. Currently, I am moving in 2 months to another better location. So,
okay. So like any direction?
You
don't
south.
have to say what direction. I'm saying any direction
South,
would be a better location.
Yeah, but I am going southwest by about 3,000 miles.
Southwest, 3,000 miles. That's a long way.
Yeah.
You're going to go move in with Diamond Dave, aren't you?
Where is I will be near where George Harrison used to be. Very near him, if you recognize his name.
The Beatles.
There you go. So the place I'll be moving into is probably only about 5 miles from where he spent. So we
I'm
can
so
just
sorry
say
because
that.
I don't know everything about George Harrison. Who does? But I wasn't aware he was in South America for a time.
Well, that's south, but southwest would be Hawaii.
Oh, Hawaii.
The
Okay,
forgotten little
that's where
place
you're
out there
talking
in the
about.
middle of nowhere, right?
Okay, that sounds pretty nice.
Yeah.
You're gonna move to Hawaii?
Yeah, I actually moved there. So that would have been 2019. I moved there just a couple months before COVID hit, which that was an interesting time. But that move was part of the time when about a year before that I had to leave. I notice a lot of people leave Mormonism. I think the numbers are somewhere around 80 or 90% become atheists. But I'm one of those ones that actually got to know God better. But in order to do so and to deconstruct of what I was going through, I couldn't be living in Utah County anymore. I was born in Provo, and the thick Mormonism around with all my family from Joseph Smith time to now, it just wasn't a place for me. And from my perspective, I know that it was God that called me out and took me to Hawaii. There were events that could only be orchestrated by someone controlling it by supernatural power.
No
Right.
human being would stack books like that.
Right. And so the hard part, like with my experiences, is it would be identical like Joseph Smith, right? I can't claim and say all of this is God, and you just have to believe me, right? Because
Mhm.
that's the fallacy of everybody else. You can't rely on that. So, my testimony is I've come to know the Bible and God so much more on a personal level, but the testimony that I gained was getting closer to God, not further away, which I found to be for me very unique. But among that, it does create a very big division between me and my family. The last time I seen my dad, I visited parents' place in July, and if you remember the story of Paul going to the synagogue and preaching after he'd been from Saul to Paul, and he got grabbed by the Pharisees and they chucked him out, and said, "Don't ever come back." That's what happened to me in July because I'm not really welcome
What did
because
you
of.
do in July?
I visited my parents. So since I left to Hawaii 6 years ago, I actually stopped seeing my family about 10 years ago because just the mess that the Mormonism doctrine and the teachings, and
Yeah.
it just destroyed our family. Like we kind of like dispersed. And so actually is 11 years ago here in a couple months is when I
Okay, bring us up to July. I really want to hear about July.
well, so I moved out of Hawaii 3 years ago. I wanted to go to Utah, but it just didn't work out. So I went to Texas. And then this spring, I went from Texas back to Utah. I thought I was going to start over, and I've kind of gone through my deconstruction and was ready to kind of deal with it. And so, visiting with my parents, it was only 3 times in the last 7 or 10 years that I've seen my parents, and this year was those 3 times. Well, each one of the times they would bring up something that was just a blatant lie, which
Like what?
one. I can't even remember. One just like the things with Joseph Smith, how actually a lot of it is like what you guys talk about, right? Everything that you guys talk about the problems with Joseph Smith, about the story, about the first vision, about all these things that whenever you bring them up, it's always the knee jerk reaction of that's false, those are lies. You're listening to the devil. And so when they would make a comment, right, and I don't really remember specifically what comments they were, but it was always that I would try and correct them. I was like, well, actually, Joseph Smith had 4 different versions of the first vision. How do you have I can't reconcile that. If you've seen God and Jesus, I cannot wrap my head around that someone would forget details and then change the story 6 years later and be like, oh, well, yeah, I didn't have God the Father in the first vision in 1832, but I did in 1838, right? So when these subjects come up, all of a sudden they don't like it because I'm just spreading lies in their house. So in the last July one, there was a couple different ones. One was Easter, that started it, a message about Easter, because from what I was understanding about Easter and the Easter eggs is that's a pagan Satanist holiday that you go and
I don't
collect
think it's satanic, it's just pagan.
pagan. But when you take the like the Easter eggs as a representative of children, and there's two stories, right? We don't know which one's true. Because like my mom saying, oh, that's not representing children. But when you dive into Satanism, that is the Easter is the number one day for child sacrifice. And so
Well, the weather's usually nice.
yeah, that's you want good weather if you're going to sacrifice children. You don't want cold blood. It's got to be warm and whatever, right? But it's
You
these
have
things
to
that
sacrifice in order to appease the gods so that they will make your crops fertile and
correct.
plentiful.
And one of the things that when I first come out it took God 2.5 years of showing me things, that I had no idea that Joseph Smith I'm 45, about 46 almost. And I left when I was 40. But for those 40 years, I had no idea that Joseph Smith was a Freemason. Didn't even know anything about it. So when I learned that Joseph Smith was a Freemason, and then when I watched on some YouTube channel, and I can't remember it, watching Satanists around a altar with black stuff that, even though it was different coloring, the apron, and they were chanting the same stuff that I did in a Mormon temple around an altar.
They weren't saying pale ale.
What is it? Oh God, hear the words of my mouth, or whatever it is, something like that.
Oh, some Mormon was going crazy in the coven.
And when I started being exposed to identical things in Freemasonry that are done in the temple, it shocked me. So
it would be shocking.
It that's not something, because we were told that this is all inspiration from God and these things were handed down, right? And so that with the church being so protective of their narrative, that all of a sudden being exposed to things that are just, well, you can't say that it was inspiration when it was proven that he was a third degree blue Mason.
You may be referring to the Blue Lodge.
Blue Lodge, yeah, that's what it is. The Blue Lodge, it's the third degree.
Yeah, he was made a third degree Mason on site. Yes.
Yeah, and so when we go through the temple, and I'm close to Bill's time, so I don't know. I don't remember when you left, Bill, but I served my mission 99 to 2001 in Sydney, Australia, and so 99 was when I got my endowments. And so, with all the handshakes and the bell, and at that time, I was taught by my leaders and going into the temple that it was Joseph Smith on the other side of the veil, that we are doing our handshakes because he is the one that is judging us on whether we're obedient to the Mormon doctrine. Right. So I was never taught that it was God or Jesus on the other side. I was taught that it was Joseph Smith.
This is what happens when you put high priests in charge of temple rituals.
Right.
Just make shit up all over the place.
Right. And but that was the thing, is just like the deconstruction of that. Like, it started with, oh, well, Joseph Smith is true and the Book of Mormon is true, but I guess the church is veered off. Right. So it
was all good at the beginning.
Yeah.
God really did show up to Joseph Smith. That wasn't the problem. Joseph Smith really did receive the gold plates from an angel and translate them by putting a stone in a hat. That's not the problem.
That is quite the story.
Joseph Smith started going after other guys' wives and teenagers.
You guys are way better at doing research, and it just reminded me of this. Did the Webster's Dictionary changed the meaning of translation because the Mormon Church uses a different meaning of a translation. You don't actually have to translate anything to call it a translation these days. Has that been updated, or is it still?
No, of course, it's completely ridiculous what the Mormon Church is trying to do. They're trying to do what President Oaks was trying to do back in the mid-1980s in order to make a salamander into an angel, which is going with secondary and tertiary definitions that don't really talk about the same thing. A translation, as it is used by Joseph Smith, is what everybody else understood it to be. I understood it to be, what actually still the vast majority of Mormons understand it to be. Who aren't aware that there's a controversy
pictures
about
that were on the enzymes that were shipped out to our houses every week, right?
Yeah, you translate it from one language into another. That's a translation.
Leaning right on the golden plates.
Hey,
yeah, but now when it starts looking like it's not a real translation, oh, well, Joseph Smith said translation, but he must have meant something else. So we got to redefine the word, and we'll talk about translation. It's like a translated being. Okay, now when we get translated or twinkled, as sometimes Mormons call it, right? We'll be translated from one form into another, and that's not translating a record. That's going from one form into another, and that's the meaning that Joseph Smith had when he said translation, even though he was translating from one language into another. That's what I mean about going to secondary and tertiary definitions and then applying them in a way that don't make sense in the context.
And that's exactly what the apologists do on every single level. They, if you guys constantly come out with new evidences and new things, and in fact, I was watching a video of your guys's just before this one. So I've been watching your channel since I think 3:00 today. So
wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, I watched. It was one from a year ago that was the Great Plagiarist. Maybe not great, but it was an episode about Joseph Smith being plagiarizing everything, and it was with the was it the Albert Clark? What, I'm so bad at sometimes remembering.
Adam Clark Bible commentary.
Yes, so it was that episode. So yes. I actually had it overlapped by about 10 minutes, so I had to speed up this new one to catch up to you guys. So that was 3.5 hours plus another hour and a half. So I'm right now at about 5 hours with just you guys.
Here's my recommendation to you. Take a break. Go watch something fun or read something, for God's sake, and get some sleep and wake up in the morning and go out and take a nice walk in the fresh air.
The fresh Las
with
Vegas.
With your earpods in, listening to me.
There you go.
Hey, Dustin.
Exactly. And,
hey, Dustin.
One of the things just before, if you guys are about to let me go,
I can hear you, Bill.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Dustin. Bill was trying to break in, but he was being too soft-spoken.
I'm trying to break in. There's 2 other people we need to get to, so I'm going to let you go. I did want to ask you one question. As somebody who's maintained a Christian faith, which, again, cool. And I mean that, by the way. I'm really appreciative of people, no matter what walk of life they figure out. If you figured out Mormonism wasn't true and you moved on to something else. But I'm curious now, from your Christian perspective, do you think Uranus testifies of Christ?
What goes in comes out. So if I'm putting Christ into me, it's got to come right back out, right?
Truer words have never been spoken. See you later, Dustin. Have a great day.
That actually was my thought, but when you first mentioned it the first time.
Yeah. Bye.
It's a good thing that we're not monitored by the FCC. Otherwise, we would be off the air with that.
I don't think planetary talk is a problem. So,
well, if all things testify of Christ, then Uranus is part of all things. Therefore,
Uranus testifies of Christ.
Yes, thank you.
That's right. So, but yeah. By the way, folks, the Brody Awards are going on right now. The awards ceremony will be this Wednesday on Mormonism Live. But if you want to vote for the Brody Awards, I'm going to put that link in the live chat. Go cast your vote and let us know who you think the best content creators were in 2025. You can cast your vote. That voting does end on Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, like Tuesday midnight, Wednesday sort of first thing when the switch
midnight in Switzerland. That's the problem. That's why Bill is stuttering here.
No, it's 8 p.m. in Switzerland, I think.
8 p.m. in Switzerland?
Something like that. And it'll be for us, I think, midnight, right at the switch over from Tuesday to Wednesday. So
for us in Utah.
Yeah, for me in Utah. Sorry. Yes.
For Mountain Time at midnight.
I
Boy,
believe
this seems pretty dicey. I think the best strategy would be to make those votes now
go
and
do
not
that.
wait till the last minute and hope you get the time zone right.
Yep, 100%. So that is happening, and we'll do the award ceremony on Wednesday.
And because we are doing the award ceremony, I know we've got people coming on, and one of them is Snork. We are being very scrupulous. We have both had the good fortune to be nominated in different categories, and but because we're the hosts, we are not promoting ourselves in any way. Actually, I've never promoted myself, at least Brody award wise in the past.
Yeah. And you've won a lot of Brody awards, so
Not promoting myself has paid off.
Yeah, it's worked out good, and I think us hosting it's not going to hurt you at all. So we'll see.
I'm just happy to be hosting. It's like the wonderful. There's a scene from an early 1950s, late 50s, early 60s Academy Award show where the two of the great leading men of Hollywood history. It's black and white. Now I'm going to have to remember Burt Lancaster and, of course, Kirk Douglas.
Jerry Lewis.
Kirk Douglas.
Kirk Douglas.
That's the devil in the chin. That's how he'd always talk. Kind of catching. Kirk Douglas made him a star. Kirk Douglas and Burt Lancaster are in tuxedos, and they are singing a little song. It's a jaunty song, and it's so great to hear them singing to each other. And the song is about how glad they are not to be nominated this year because they don't have to worry or sit out there and be biting their fingernails and wondering what's going to happen because, they're just not nominated. And, of course, by the end, you get the idea that they wish they'd been nominated, but it's a great song.
Well, I think it'll all turn out the way it was supposed to. So we'll see what happens there. But the Brody
What kind
Award,
of fatalist bullshit is that, Mr. Real?
well,
It's all going to turn out the way it's supposed to. Are you a fatalist?
Here's why I say that. You are nominated every year in multiple categories, and you always win. And I suspect that you'll fare well this year as well.
Thank you, Kinder Kim.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm honored just to be nominated. I actually started crying about it the other night,
Oh, that's super cool.
but then I got over it.
But you got over
No,
it.
I was just so humbled by. I mean, really,
It
it's
is.
really humbling to be. Okay, I'm not even going to talk about more, but there's actually eight nominations, and look, I am humbled. Are you happy? I'm humbled. I'm overwhelmed. It's like you like me, you really like me kind of moment, and I want you to know I really appreciate it. So, thank you to all of those who nominated me in different categories.
You getting all verklempt on me. Snork, you'll have to unmute yourself. Don't
Snork
know
will unverklempt me.
male or female. Who is Snork?
That's a great question. I saw some incredulity on RFM's face when he read my name.
I know who Snorkel is. Snorkel is another one of the banana splits in addition to Bongo.
Nanu.
You remember Bongo?
Nanu. I'm afraid I'm even younger than Bill, so I think a lot of this is going to get lost on me.
Bongo is the Brad Wilcox lookalike Bill.
What was the name of the show?
The Banana Splits.
The Banana Splits.
Yes.
Okay.
Tra la la.
Nice.
La 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 la.
La la.
So Snorkel.
What's on your mind, Snork?
Well, first off, thanks for hosting the show and letting me be on. I've been listening for a while, but never called in, so it's fun to be here. I was listening to that. I don't remember his name, but that first caller who talked about that moment under the stars, and it reminded me so much of something when I was deconstructing that I was hoping to share, which was just, he talked about like, that quote unquote feeling of the spirit's still there. There's that what sounded like a very peaceful moment, and I was recalling like there's a moment after I had left. I'd maybe been like fully done with things for just a couple of months at this point, and I found myself just sitting in my home, and for the first time in my life, just like found myself just sitting there thinking like, wow, I'm just happy to be alive, and it's not like I didn't feel happy before, of course, but there was just something like such a deep peace and just so much more beauty and so much more life in the world after leaving that I had a couple moments like that, especially in those first few months. And it was just like, there was this feeling that I hope a lot of people have. I don't know if everybody, certainly not everybody does, but hopefully a lot of people do, of like, how can it keep getting better? You know, it's like a few months past, it's like, wow, like life is getting even more rich, even more enjoyable. I just felt like almost instantly my capacity to love was more, my judgment was less. Like, I don't know. It was just, of course, the initial parts were terrifying. There's a lot of tears, there's a lot of fear. And then it seemed like I crossed a threshold where it's not like it got, perfectly easy from there on out, but it was radically different.
Yeah, that's called being born again. What
Yeah,
happens is
as an atheist.
what happens, I think, and what largely contributes to it is the resolving of cognitive dissonance.
Hmm.
And this cognitive dissonance is a weight that we have carried for so long. And usually, if you're somebody like me and others who are encountering or researching or reading or studying and finding more and more problematic things, the weight of this boulder becomes heavier and heavier, this cognitive dissonance for you to continue faithful. And then
Yeah.
finally, when you get to the point where you just look up in the sky and say, it's okay if God didn't create this, you just drop that whole freaking boulder out of your backpack. And yeah, I expect it feels really good and really peaceful. Finally, your mind can not be doing this crazy dance it's been doing for years and years. It can just
Absolutely.
be at peace, be at one.
Yeah. Uh, And then, I don't want to take too much time. I did want to say though too that Bill, when you're talking about this person that you know who presumably is on their way out, um, and you mentioned you sent them some, I think, towards some articles or something like that of like what sounded to be like human development, cognitive development, probably some moral reasoning development, that sort of thing. And I was finishing up my master's degree in counseling when I left, and I'm so glad that I had that training as I was deconstructing because I felt like it helped me avoid a lot of shame that would have been there otherwise, of being able to look at things and be like, oh, I have just enough understanding, no expert by any means, but enough understanding to be like, all the things I accepted as a kid, all the times I kind of forced things to work, like it makes sense from like a human behavioral standpoint, an evolutionary biology standpoint, attachment lenses, or you name it. But it's just like it's human nature. Of course, I'm gonna do what I'm raised in and that sort of thing. And so, I think those tools and that information that helps us give ourselves grace is such a valuable asset in all of this. In addition to obviously the facts of the matter.
Yeah. Well, thank you, my friend.
Thank you
And
for calling in, Snorkel. It was nice to hear from
yes,
Take it
if I
easy.
may, just one last quick thing.
Please.
I work in a psychiatric hospital, and well, medical doctors sometimes you'll hear them say like, "Wow, being a doctor, I've now all of a sudden I have more faith." I think if you work in a psychiatric hospital, the opposite happens. Um, but I sometimes RFM, I love you to death. I'm a huge fan of your work. And I'll just say not to bring things down and not to get too somber or whatever, but just maybe encourage you to think about using the term psych ward radio because as
Oh, I
just
do. That's
as
why I
just
use it so often,
kooky
because
as
I
those
think about it.
homeboys are,
Well,
my
you'll be glad
patients
to
are
know that
just
when you
amazing.
announced about a minute ago that you work in a psychiatric hospital, I suppressed myself from saying, "How's Kwaku?"
He's fine. Yeah, he's good.
Good. Hope
Yeah.
you're treating him well.
Did he
Yeah.
show up in the clown outfit?
He left it. Yeah.
Snork is funny.
By the way, Snork, I sort of lean a little bit your direction, but RFM's humor is different than mine. And anyway,
I
Well,
appreciate the
all.
fact. I appreciate the fact that that you have sensibilities in that regard, and others have too, and they've expressed them to me. So thank you.
I've met some of actually, I think the smartest people I've met have been my patients.
Mm.
I work with acute psychosis, mania, and aggression primarily, and people in the heights or the depths rather of delusions have oftentimes been the brightest people I've ever met.
Oh yeah, high intelligence often comes with some other thing happening that's puts you a little bit on the outside of the edge.
Yeah, amazing. I love my job. I love the
I
beautiful.
think I'm going to use that excuse.
Well,
I think yeah, go for it.
All right, thank you, my friend. Thanks for the call.
Thank you. Have a good
Thank
night.
you, Snork.
All right, DG, you get like 1 minute, my friend. You got to just
DG, nighttime would find him in Rosie's Cantina.
lay it on thick.
Music would play and Fatima would whirl.
Well, good evening, gentlemen. Happy New Year. I was only able to catch the newscast this week. And Bill, did I understand correctly that your seeing around corners has already come to pass, that we're up to 3 CSA cases for the week? Not
3?
the year, but for the week.
Yeah,
right?
3 child sex assault cases on just the first week of the year.
A couple of them started. They were like, a month or 2 ago.
Yeah.
They were last year.
Well, I mean, I think we're using the official metric. If it's covered on the newscast, then that's what counts.
I said we would report on more child sex abuse cases.
Yes. In fact, I was going to volunteer to be your executive secretary and keep track of that number all year long, but I don't think I can count that high at the rate we're going. The other 2 things, it seems like we're setting a new record for are shootings or terrorist incidents in near proximity to church buildings now. And I don't know, maybe closing longtime mission visitor centers will be a thing this year. I mean, they're closing the Salt Lake, what is it? The temple mission there in Salt Lake, Temple Square.
Temple Square mission. Yeah. They're going to pay to have influencers show up in Disney costumes in order to guide people around and make sure that they have a wonderful experience on the rides that they'll be putting in.
Well, I wonder if this is the beginning of more like, the Nauvoo Visitor Center will also be closed. The Independence there in Missouri Visitor Center will also be closed. And we're just going to start contracting that out to Disney characters now.
They're going to have a ride that's based on a theme of early church history, and it's going to look a lot like the Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, and then we'll make movies. We'll make movies out of it.
Yes.
What was the big one that was back the early 90s that was shown in the Joseph Smith building for forever?
I don't know. Restoration?
What was it called? Somebody will probably post it in the comments.
I'm not sure I saw it, but
yeah. Anyway, something akin to that. That movie was shown there on the Visitor Square of the Joseph Smith Theater for the longest time.
Testament?
Testament? No. What was it?
I don't know, but I want to stay here all night and try and remember it.
Anyway,
There was the Pioneer where she raised the mule.
Legacy. We got Legacy.
Legacy. Yeah, Legacy. It'll be like Legacy.
32 Flavors says Legacy. Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, for the win.
Aaron Shook is coming in with Legacy second.
Yeah, see, that's
Lopsided Leahona.
the posse coming to help me out there. Yeah, I remember seeing it.
In
Before I went to Japan, I actually served in Salt Lake City North Mission before they leveled all of South Temple and built the new mall, because the mission headquarters was actually in the old Kennecott Copper building that overlooked Temple Square, our mission. And I was assigned to a Japanese ward in Salt Lake City prior to heading overseas. And we were on Temple Square practically every day because we were assigned our mission. We roamed out of our boundaries. We went as far as north as Ogden and south down to, I think, Spanish Fork. But we had the whole valley, and it was all of the Japanese foreign exchange students that were in the Salt Lake Valley that we were getting referrals for. And we would just tell them, hey, just go to Temple Square and we'll teach you the first 6 discussions right there in between the North and South Visitor Center. So we got to hang with all of the gorgeous, elegant, beautiful looking sisters that were serving in Temple Square. And it's kind of sad to say that that's coming to an end, or see that that's coming to an end.
Yeah.
But
they look a lot better when you know you can't touch them for 2 years, huh?
Or could you? Anyway.
Wait a second. DG. Have I been standing up too close or back too far?
Let's just say that my bowels are filled with compassion, and my and my anus does testify of Jesus. You know, if I have the right fiber in my diet for that week. But anyway,
well, thank you, BG.
Bill, one last question, and you can kick me off for your answer. I saw something about your that you're.
I was just kidding. Bill was just kidding, DG.
That's okay.
He's a big joker like
I
that.
love his humor. No, Bill's humor is great.
He's a funny guy.
Your therapy. Tell us a little bit more about your therapy session, and the signups are coming up. I wanted to know a little bit more about that.
Oh, I love that.
Asking for a friend. Asking for a friend. Not me. No, not me. A friend.
Yeah. Okay. I'll let you go, and then I'll talk about that for a second. Then we can close out the show. Thank you, my friend.
I wonder if his friend Venus testifies of Jesus too.
Yeah, we're doing a spiritual, but now I'll follow that up with we're doing a spiritual trauma support group. So this is for folks who have gone through the deconstruction of Mormonism and they just haven't been able to quite make peace with things, and they're having a hard time. They've experienced trauma in the church. They haven't quite gotten to the other side yet, and they need some help and support. And so we've had a support group going now for about 2 months. And the folks have said that it's been amazing to them. People have been commenting on the newest announcement of the newest support group. Folks from the first support group have jumped in and said, like, hey, I'm in that first support group, and it's really been an amazing help to me. So we're really getting good reviews for this. You can go to awakenandthrive.org. That's the website that hosts all of my coaching as a certified somatic informed trauma coach. And the next support group, I think, starts on January 20th. So we're 11 days away. It's only $60 a month, and it goes for 22 weeks. And you get the chance to be in a group of people who have also been on this journey. We go through a lot of tools, regulation techniques that help you to sit still in the moments where you normally weren't able to sit still. You're feeling activation in your nervous system. You react to the outside world in ways that make it difficult to be your best, healthiest self. And so we teach people regulation techniques and a lot of other tools too. And we talk a lot about the journey of deconstruction and give you a lot of books, a lot of kind of self-help things, and give you a lot of things that we've learned over the years that I think come in handy in helping people to live a healthier, better second half of life. So awakenandthrive.org, $60 a month is what that cost. And I think that's a really great price for sitting down with people and talking about things in I'm not going to say therapy because I'm not a therapist, but a therapeutic setting, and to have some tools and things that can help you to move forward and claim back your life in a way that's better than it was the day before. So awakenandthrive.org. RFM, that's all I've got, my friend. We're at 9:50. If you want, you can take us home.
Okay, I hope everybody will join me tomorrow night for another episode of Radio Free Mormon. I'll be in the studio bright and early tomorrow morning with my good friend Colby Reddish. We'll be knocking out, this may be the second to last. This may be the penultimate. There's 2 more chapters left, but once again, it's like Austin's computer just cannot finish this book. You know, there's so many PSs, postscripts. He's got an afterword, a conclusion, an epilogue. Hey, I just want to say something more. It's like, just say it all, okay? It's word processing. You can actually rearrange these words and put them in a more organized way. But no, so this one is actually, for whatever reason, he decided he wanted to address belief in God. That's the name of this chapter, Belief in God. Chapter 20, I think. Again, he doesn't number them, so I have to. Chapter 20, Belief in God. And Austin Fife is going to take it upon himself to solve a little riddle called the problem of evil. And apparently he does it to his satisfaction in a few pages, which is all he devotes to the issue. And he's ready to be a Mormon once again. So we're calling this How to Believe in Mormonism, because this is where he talks about how he just sort of gave up on everything that Mormonism teaches. And then he started thinking about things and just reading everything. He was really well read. An assertion that he makes that's belied by the very book in which he makes it, that he was very well read on criticisms of the church. No, he wasn't at all, obviously. And so at least he gives no indication of it. But he's got this belief in God. He's going to talk about the problem of evil, and we're going to talk about some of the things he says and why it is that we tend to disagree with a lot of the conclusions that he makes. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and that'll be tomorrow night. It should be premiering at 7:00 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And then on Monday, we'll be doing the newscast at 6:00 p.m. Mountain Time. And don't forget, Bill, I know you won't. Next Wednesday, 6:00 p.m. Mountain Time, please join us and let your friends and family know for the first ever live broadcast of the Brody Awards.
Yeah.
And we will not know what the who the winners are before we read them. At least I won't. I think we've got this arranged in such a way that it's not something that is going to be known to others. Is that right, Bill?
I may be given a list of the winners late in the day so that I can have the slides ready for that person.
Oh, right. So late in the day on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you're going to make slides based on them. That makes sense.
Yeah, but nobody else will know. I mean, I think you would be able to have access to it, but if you want to avoid looking at them, that's great. And then we'll announce them, and everybody else will learn right there live on the air. The winners will learn right there live on the air. So it should be a great time.
Yeah, I'd rather do that if that's okay. I love surprises.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that's everything. And please join us tomorrow night and Monday and Wednesday night too. We don't ask anything. We don't ask a lot from you, just like 4 nights a week or something like that.
That's right.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time on Mormonism After Dark.
Bye-bye.